I was 10 years old that fateful morning when the fight broke out at the breakfast table between my sister June and me. It started over something trivial, who had left books scattered on the floor. Mom coldly told me to put them back on the shelf, even though I was certain it had been June who left them out after having friends over to work on a school project the day before. June, with her fiery temper always simmering just below the surface, flatly denied it was her. I persisted in blaming her, partially to annoy her, until she exploded in rage and flung her cup of scalding hot tea at me. The pain was excruciating as it splashed across my neck and chest. In agony and anger, I yelled the worst thing I could think of. "Geez, June, I wish you'd just die. You're a terrible person. I didn't mean it. Not really." But in that moment of white-hot pain and fury, the cruel words tumbled out. I ran to the freezer for ice to soothe my burned skin. When I turned back around, Mom was right there. A stinging slap cracked across my face, leaving me dazed. Mom glared at me with cold contempt, unconcerned about my blistering skin. "If you ever say something like that again," she warned icily before turning away. She didn't seem to care at all that June had just assaulted me with boiling water. In Mom's eyes, golden child June could do no wrong. I was just the troublesome other daughter she barely tolerated. Sobbing, I started to flee to my room, but Mom's sharp voice stopped me. "Go put those books back on the shelf, May."
No sympathy, no comfort.
Just another cold command. Story of my life. I often wondered if I was adopted, or somehow didn't really belong in this family. Mom had always been distant and unaffectionate towards me, blatantly favoring June, but I could never understand why. Was I unlovable? Had I done something wrong? Those questions haunted me every day growing up. The fight that morning was our last interaction as sisters, because by lunchtime my world had shattered. It was recess and June was on the swing, her friend Maggie pushing her. I watched from a distance, wishing I was the one laughing with June, the one she wanted to play with. But she always preferred the company of anyone else over me. Then, in a single horrifying instant, the chain snapped at the top. June plummeted to the ground. I ran to her still form sprawled on the wood chips, praying she was okay. But even before I reached her, I knew. My sister, my tormentor, my secret idol, she was gone. Her neck had broken in the fall. The doctor said she died instantly, that she didn't suffer. As if that was any comfort to us. To Mom. After that day, Mom retreated even further from me, descending into a cold, numb state of endless grief. Whatever small shred of maternal warmth she'd had for me extinguished, leaving only resentment and apathy in its wake. I was now nothing more than a burdensome reminder of the daughter she'd lost, the one she'd actually loved. It's been 17 years now since that terrible day. I'm 27 and Mom passed away from cancer 6 months ago. She was only 59. I think losing June slowly killed her over the years. Not just emotionally, but physically too. She was never the same after the accident. None of us were. Part of me always suspected that Mom blamed me for June's death. After all, hadn't I wished out loud for June to die just hours before it happened? At 10 years old, I didn't understand the gravity of those reckless words. But now, nearly 2 decades later, the guilt still gnaws at me. Did I somehow jinx June? Curse her? Speak her death into existence? Logically, I know it was a freak accident, a horrible tragedy that no one could have foreseen. But in my darkest moments, I can't help but wonder, what if? What if I had never said those awful words? Would June still be alive? Would Mom have ever loved me? Now they're both gone and I'll never have the answers. The 2 questions that have plagued me my whole life will forever remain a mystery. Why did Mom always treat me like an outcast in my own family? Even long before June died, I was kept at arm's length, only shown cool indifference where June basked in Mom's adoration. I tried so hard to be good, to be lovable, but nothing I did ever closed the chasm between us. And even more tormenting, am I to blame for my sister's death? I've replayed that morning in my head a million times. If I hadn't provoked June, if I hadn't lashed out, would the universe have still claimed her hours later? Or did speaking my wish make it come true? Am I the reason an innocent 10-year-old girl never got to grow up? These are the thoughts that keep me up at night. The guilt I carry every minute of every day. The loneliness of never having felt truly loved by my own mother. But I'm trying to make peace with it. Trying to build a life for myself out of the rubble of my broken childhood. I've been in therapy for years, working to understand that June's death wasn't my fault. That mom's coldness wasn't because of anything I did. It's a daily battle to accept these truths when the doubting voices in my head get so loud. Last week, I went back to the old elementary school playground for the first time since that day. The swings have long since been replaced, the old rusted set ripped out and shiny new equipment installed. But the memories still linger. Echoes of children's laughter, of June's laughter, seemed to dance on the breeze. I sat on the bench and let myself feel it all. The pain, the grief, the anger. I cried for the sister I barely knew but fiercely missed. For the mother I yearned for but never really had. For the scared, confused little girl I used to be. When the tears subsided, I felt a lightness I hadn't in years. I knew I would never be completely free of this burden. But maybe I could start to inch out from under its weight. Maybe I could finally give myself permission to just live, without the constant cloak of shame and sorrow. June has been gone nearly twice as long as she was here, yet the shadow of her loss stretches into every corner of my life. I don't want to dishonor her memory, but I'm realizing that I deserve a life too, that I am worthy of happiness, even if Mom couldn't see it, couldn't give it to me. So I come to this park bench and try to make peace with the past. With myself. It's the closest I can get to June now. I like to think maybe she's watching over me, that maybe she finally understands the anguish and guilt I've carried all these years. And Mom, I hope that wherever she is now, she's with June again. I hope death has healed the wound that losing June ripped open, the one that bled out anything she felt for me. I'll never know what I did to be shut out so completely. I've racked my brain for 27 years, but I can't pinpoint any original sin that would make Mom reject me. And maybe that's the hardest part, knowing it may have had nothing to do with me at all. That for reasons I'll never understand, I just wasn't enough for her. I wasn't June. I do believe Mom loved me in her own stunted way. You don't raise a child for 27 years, even a distant second-best child, if you don't love them on some level. She kept me clothed and fed and educated. She gave me the basic necessities of life, and I suppose I should be grateful for that much. But she never gave me what I truly needed, what every child craves deep down in their soul. She couldn't love me the way I needed, the way she loved June. There was no room left in her heart after June died. Maybe even before that. I've started volunteering with kids in foster care. I see so much of myself in their lonely eyes, that sorrow born of not feeling seen or valuable. And even though I can't erase my own pain, I can work like hell to make sure these vulnerable kids never question their worth like I did. I can give them the affection and acceptance I never had. Slowly but surely, I'm stitching my broken pieces back together. I'm determined to build something beautiful from the shattered remains of my childhood. For myself, for June, even for Mom. I still have days where the darkness closes in, where I'm transported back to that 10-year-old girl, burning with confusion and heartache, watching her sister's lifeless body on the playground. Those are the days I have to fight the hardest to claw my way back to the light. But I'm learning that healing isn't linear. There will always be setbacks and bad days. The difference now is that I no longer let them defeat me. I acknowledge the pain, feel it fully, and then gently redirect my focus to the present, to the beautiful life I'm building brick by brick. I've started dating a wonderful man named Ethan. He's a children's therapist and has such a compassionate heart for broken kids like I was. He understands my baggage in a way no one else ever has. And he chooses me every day, damage and all. For the first time, I feel truly seen, loved, cherished even. It's a foreign feeling after a lifetime of being overlooked, but I'm learning to embrace it, to believe that I deserve this happiness, this wholeness. Ethan and I have even started talking about having a child of our own someday. It's a terrifying prospect given my history, but I know I will pour every ounce of love I have into that child. I will give them the childhood I always wanted. One where they never doubt how deeply they are treasured. I still think about June every single day. I wonder who she would have become, the milestones she missed. First kiss, prom, college, falling in love. I grieve for the sisterhood we were robbed of. Some days I talk to her. I sit on that park bench and tell her about my life now. My job, my friends, Ethan. I like to imagine her smiling down on me, proud of how far I've come, grateful that I've made a good life out of so much pain. I've even started to make peace with Mom. I understand now that her coldness towards me came from a place of deep brokenness that even June's death didn't cause. Something in her was fractured long before that. And as much as it hurts, I know it was never really about me. I was just an innocent casualty of her unhealed wounds. Forgiveness is hard. It doesn't happen overnight. There's still a little girl inside me that rages against the injustice of Mom's rejection. But I'm working on it, on releasing that anger little by little. I don't want to carry it forever. I've learned that forgiveness isn't saying that what happened to me was okay. It's not forgetting or minimizing the pain. It's simply choosing to let go of the bitter poison that will otherwise destroy me from the inside out. It's reclaiming my power from the past. And for me, it's an essential part of healing, of becoming the whole, healthy woman I want to be, the one I am already becoming. I know there will still be hard days ahead. Grief is a lifelong companion, not something with a finish line. But I'm not afraid anymore. I have the tools now to weather the storms. And I have a tribe of loving people to hold my hand through it. June's 28th birthday is coming up soon. She's been gone longer than she lived. It's still so surreal to me. I'm planning to visit her grave that day, to bring sunflowers, her favorite. I'll sit with her a while and remember the good moments. Few as they were, I'm determined to focus on the light she brought to my life, not just the pain surrounding her death. I'll tell her about Ethan and how he makes me feel alive again. I'll promise to live a full, beautiful life for both of us. And I'll thank her for teaching me how to love with my whole heart in the short time we had together. Then I'll walk out of that cemetery a little bit lighter, a little bit stronger, carrying June's memory with me as I step forward into a future she never got to have. One where I choose happiness. One where I finally belong to myself. I used to be so angry at the universe, at God, if there is one. I couldn't understand why June was taken, why I had to suffer so much. I screamed into the void, begging for answers. But I've made my peace with the mystery of it all. I don't need to understand the why anymore. There's a strange freedom in releasing the answerless questions. All I can do is make the most of this one wild and precious life I've been given, to squeeze every drop of beauty and joy and meaning from it that I can. And that's enough. I'm enough. I still have my dark moments. I still collapse under the weight of all that was lost. I still battle my demons. But I'm a survivor. That scrappy 10-year-old girl who clawed her way out of the wreckage of her broken family is still with me. She's the source of my strength. I know now that I was never really alone. Even in the depths of my mother's rejection, June's love was with me. Quiet and imperfect as it was still love. And that love lives on in me now. It fuels me as I reach out to teach other lonely children that they matter, that they are worthy of love no matter what. The swing set is long gone, but sometimes I still hear the creak of the chains, the laughter in the wind, and it doesn't haunt me so much anymore. It's a reminder of how far I've come, of the little girl who turned her tragedy into triumph. I am June's legacy. The pains and joys of her too short life live on in me, and I will spend the rest of my days honoring that, loving harder, dreaming bigger, fighting longer, because I am still here, still breathing, still aching, still dancing in the sun. I am the one she left behind, the one who carries her forward. I am broken and bruised, but I am still standing, still swinging higher.